This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're going to be cooperatively traveling around the world from port to port and trying to deliver supplies to help out the people there. Today we're going to be looking at one of the most anticipated games of the year, Pandemic Legacy Season 2. Now I have played 5 games of this so far and I wanted to give you my feelings of what it feels like so far. How am I liking it? Is there anything I'm not liking? Is it blowing my mind? Since I'm far enough through, I think I can comment on that. Now I am going to show you a brief overview. I'm not going to sort of spoil anything. I'm not going to take anything out that's legacy. I'm essentially going to show you the board as it is when you first unwrap the game. And I'm going to just talk briefly about how the basic mechanisms work in this game from, say, the prologue. So, because it is quite different from Pandemic and Pandemic Legacy Season 1, and I'm going to be commenting on some of these things in a general form, but I want you to see what is it different? How does it work in general? But I'm not going to show off any characters' faces or anything like that. I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible, but still giving you some information about how the game works in a basic form. Now at the beginning of the game, everyone will get to pick which color pawn they'd like to be, and they get to select a character. Now I'm not showing you any of the characters, actually different stickers you'll be putting on here to make your character. You'll be naming them, tell them where their home is, and giving them their age. And over the course of the different games, you'll be getting different stickers here, which will give you different abilities. And as you get hurt with exposure, you'll be scratching these off to get different bad things from happening, like scars, which will also start to put bad things here. Now here's the board starting for the prologue. I'm not spoiling anything here. This is how it would look when you just set it up. But notice that all you have is some water here. You have a little bit of the east coast of the United States here with New York, Washington, Jacksonville. You have a little bit South America, different areas of Europe and such over here. But you're going to obviously start exploring these as the game goes on. Now some of this is like the normal Pandemic where you have player decks that you'll be drawing cards and be using to do different things. There'll be an infection deck with, depending on the infection rating, a certain amount of cards will come out at the end of your turn. But in this version of Pandemic, when things are infected, instead of adding cubes of diseases, you're actually subtracting cubes of supply. And it really turns the game on its head. Because if I had drawn Sao Paulo, instead of, again, adding it, you would subtract this supply and putting it back into the stockpile. And if this Sao Paulo had no more supply cubes, then a plague cube would be added here. And when a plague cube's added, it adds to the incidence. And if this ever gets down to here, you've lost. But if Sao Paulo got hit and it already had 3 plagues, then everything around it would basically be an outbreak where this would lose, everything touching would lose a supply, but if there's no supply, then it would gain a plague, and sometimes this could cause multiple outbreaks. And also the amount of supplies that you get to use at the beginning of the game changes as the game goes on. There's going to be new special actions like Recon, which allows you to do certain things like, hey, 5 unique yellow cards from a supply center here, and you can open up and you'll be able to see package 7, which will probably do something to the game. Now each player gets 2 action cards for that player that gets to show them the thing. So you could use an action to drive to an adjacent spot or use the ferry to a connected spot. Sail, you could discard a card to move to the city named on the card, similar to the original Pandemic. You could charter a boat while you drop the card of the exact city name, and you can go to anything that has the anchor. You can share knowledge, give or take cards from the city that matches that you're in with another player. You could build a supply, which is big in this game. It's basically looks like the old research stations from the other games, but you got to discard 5 cards matching your city's color to build a supply there. Recon was what I just showed you, was adding different things there. You can make supplies, which is take a supply from the stockpile and put it on your character card. You can also deliver supplies, which is put any number of supplies from your character card into that area because you're trying to deliver those supplies to keep that buffer going. There's also free action, which is you can pick up supplies from where you are. You can also transfer supplies. And it wouldn't be a legacy game if there weren't new actions on the backside of these that you'd be adding. And also at the top, this is where you'll be putting objective cards, which I'm not even showing you the prologue one, that will give you the win of the game, and that will change as the games go on. And in standard legacy fashion, there's all sorts of different things that you may be opening up and getting throughout the game. Of course, I'm not going to show you any of these, but I just want to show you that there is a ton of content in the game. And of course, there's many boxes you'll be opening up at certain times that will probably have mind-blowing things. And of course you have the Legacy deck, which you don't use until after the prologue, and that's the main part of how things will change. Okay, so I hope this helped you see how the game works, how it's different from Pandemic Legacy Season 1 without opening up anything or showing you any characters or doing anything like that. So let's talk about this. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but I do have to comment on what I like and what I don't like, so I do have to say things about it, but I'm not going to talk about anything that had come out or anything like that or any strategies. I'm just going to kind of talk basic things. So first of all, I love the different character looks, which obviously I did not show you in the overview because I didn't want to spoil it. I showed you the character cards just to show you how they would work, but you end up putting characters' faces on there, as I mentioned in the overview, and I just love the look and feel of these different characters. They look very different. It's just a wide spectrum of how they look, and I thought that was really cool. Building your characters is really cool. Trying to decide, as you saw, different abilities will come out over the time, and you'll be able to build up characters. And I just love the aspect where you get to choose where they're from, you get to choose their age, you get to write their name, and building them over the course of the game to synergize certain actions. Because as you'll add actions, it's a Legacy game, you'll add certain things to different characters, and it's the aspect of trying to figure out what actions will go best with which characters, because they already have this ability, let's put them together. I thought that was really cool. I love how the board evolves through exploration. So I showed you the board, and I showed you, obviously there's only a little bit shown there at the beginning of the game, but I like how there's sort of that exploration aspect where you're going off, and after you do certain things in the game, you'll be able to explore more of the board. And I think that's a really cool idea, as opposed to just having the whole board there and having different things happen to them. I love this exploration aspect of the game. The thing I probably like the most is that, as I showed you, the gameplay is very different from Pandemic or Pandemic Legacy Season 1. It really takes the Pandemic mechanisms and puts them on top of their head, where like you're pretty much playing Pandemic in reverse, which I thought was really cool. Because yeah, I liked Pandemic Season 1. I thought it was great. There were some really cool things, but this just feels different. It feels fresh because it feels like Pandemic, but yet it still feels different. It feels like an iteration of it. And I really like that aspect of it, because even at the beginning when things are just starting to happen, it still feels like a new, fresh game because of those mechanisms are sort of like backwards from what you're used to doing. I showed you how the characters, if you end up in a spot at the beginning of your turn, when certain things happen, you'll be scratching off to possibly get wounds and maybe even die. I thought that was a really cool idea because it's one more thing to think about, and it's cool that it's a little bit of press your luck. You're not sure what's going to happen, and who knows if some of those are like a lot worse than others. Maybe somebody might die right away. Maybe someone doesn't die till the end. I don't know, actually, because I have not gotten injured that much, a few times, but I haven't seen enough to tell you that. But I think that's a cool aspect. I also like that even though certain things will happen after each game and before each game through the Legacy deck, I like that there's certain actions that you can take during the game that you decide when they trigger, and that will bring out different Legacy aspects of the game during the game, and it's up to you to make it happen. Obviously, there's certain times during the Legacy aspect where it'll say, hey, if you haven't opened this yet, open it, and to keep the story moving. But I like how you get to kind of more trigger things during the middle of the game, and I love that aspect of it so far. I also like how there's lots of tough decisions to make, even at the beginning of the game and the end of the game. The beginning of the game, trying to figure out where all the supplies are going to go. It gets harder as the game goes on. Then also at the end, how to spend your currency to try to help yourself out. So yeah, we found that even the end of the game might take us a half hour to start deciding what we want to do with the currency. And so it's really cool. So anything I didn't like? Well, I wouldn't say there's nothing that's happened that I've like flipped out of my chair and went, oh my gosh, that is the coolest thing ever. But granted, I'm only into May right now. I have a feeling something like this might happen throughout, but it's the only thing I can say that nothing has totally blown my mind yet. But I will say I like it as much as Legacy Season 1, and I probably like it a little bit more already. And again, the main reason for that is the mechanisms being upside down, and just the triggering things during it. So I could say I think I'm going to end up liking this a lot more in the first one. So that's it so far. I'll hopefully be able to check in with you later. I'm not sure when I'm going to get enough plays to do another video. I'm not sure if I'll do it 2/3 of the way through or if I'll do it all the way through. I think it will decide on the timing of it. I'm getting ready to go on the Dice Tower cruise this next weekend. Then the holidays are coming. So I'm not sure when I'll put another review out, but hopefully I'll do it soon enough so that you can give you some more information, see if you want to buy this or not. Or maybe I've given you enough information now, and that's my feelings of Pandemic Legacy Season 2. being through about May 5 games in.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com.